We are live.
Thank you so much for joining us, the Redevelopment Commission, on today, May 5th. If you would, please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance and a short invocation. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, thank you so much for this day, dreary as it may be. And we just thank you so much for the town of Mooresville, for the opportunity that these individuals have to serve the town, and just pray for guidance throughout tonight and in all that we do. In your name we pray. Amen.
Again, thank you so much for joining us. We'll take a moment to welcome in person our newest commissioner, Aaron Pipkin. Thank you so much for stepping up and filling that role. Next, annual report. The fun stuff every year.
And I apologize because I put Jason and it's Sam.
I know.
So that's
all right.
my fault. Sorry about that.
That's all right. Good evening. My name is Sam Schrader. I am joined by Jason Semler to give our annual report and fulfill Indiana Code 36-7258, in which Redevelopment Commission needs to invite all the overlapping taxing units to give a summary of the standing of the commission. Sorry, I'm fighting some allergies, so bear with me. Interrupt me with any questions. As we dive into this, we came bearing gifts, so we have the full report, and then this presentation we're going to walk through will just kind of hit the highlights. And so with that, if we just want to hop right into slide 2, the commission currently has just the one consolidated economic development area, and in the past there was economic development area number 1, economic development area number 2. Area 1 was created in 1990 and further expanded throughout the years in 2012 and 2013. Area 2 then established in 1993 and expanded in 2012 and 2013. Each piece of those original and expansion areas kind of have their own expiration dates, which are dependent on the establishment date. And over the past few years, legislation has just changed a little bit on what sets that expiration date. As it currently stands, any new allocation area established has a 25-year life from the time TIF is pledged to debt obligation. But as you can see, the majority of your guys' pieces, original areas, expansions, are expiring around 2039. And then in 2015, the commission decided to consolidate the two EDAs into the consolidated EDA. That piece is what expires in 2040. The consolidated allocation area in 2021 captured a little bit over $2.5 million of tax increment, so very healthy collections. We anticipate in 2022 and 2023 a slight uptick in that captured TIF of about 2.6 and $2.68 million respectively.
I will just add, only because this is all acronym soup, EDA, Economic Development Area.
Yes. Sorry, I should have.
I'm weird. I'm weird.
Well, Chelsea is right, though. And then within the consolidated economic development area, there is one other allocation area, which is the 2019 allocation area, obviously established in 2019, which was established to help support the Shell building in the Mooresville Business Center. That is one of the allocation areas that currently does not have an expiration date because there are no outstanding obligations payable from that TIF. And part of that reason is there's no TIF being generated yet. Obviously, it's still owned by the commission with some pending implications obviously in place. So with that, kind of transitioning into the outstanding obligations, the first one, since we were talking about the Shell building, that I wanted to talk about was the taxable lease installment contract, which was also issued in 2019 for the construction of the Shell building. currently outstanding in the amount of $4.1 million, will mature in 2039, although there is the flexibility to repay that. And we are working with the bank on coordinating what kind of terms there are to complete, that transaction, given the momentum with the Shell building. So that's something we will, continue to work on and finalize those terms so the commission is aware of what opportunities it has to pay that off early.
Excuse me, do we have an extra copy we could give Peter over here? He's over there taking pictures. It'd be easier if he just had it.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
No problem. Sorry about that. The next outstanding obligation are the refunding bonds, the taxable tax increment revenue refunding bonds of 2021, which we were here to help you guys issue last spring. Those refinanced the 2014 bonds, and if you recall, generated about $75,000 of annual debt service savings for the commission. So that was a great opportunity for the commission to maximize on that. Those do also mature in 2039, and you guys do have the opportunity to, continue to look into opportunities to pay that off early, starting in 2026. Not sure that's going to be a great option given interest rates and the way those are headed. But you do have that flexibility, which is always nice. And then the last obligation are the 2010 SRF bonds, where the commission pledges $300,000 of TIF annually towards those bonds. Those will mature in 2031. Moving on to slide 5, we just wanted to quickly outline some other additional projects that TIF has been utilized for in Mooresville, including some of the fire station and police station projects, and various gateway and economic development projects, including but not limited to the 2014 TOA expansion and various infrastructure improvements and land acquisition and purchase of property. On slide 6 here, we've developed a rough estimate at what a budget will look like for the next couple of years with Chelsea's help. I want to remind you guys, like we said on I think the second slide, we're anticipating about $2.6 million of TIF to come in 2022. So almost half of that will go towards the debt service payments. At that point, we budgeted several different services for professional services, and engineering services, other infrastructure improvement opportunities, specifically around Main Street. And then again, as other economic development and redevelopment projects arise, there's always the opportunity to fund some of those projects that we have listed down here in footnote 1, but we're certainly not limiting those funding opportunities to just those projects. Really, anything identified in the comprehensive plan is kind of covered in these, vague budget amounts. So with that, obviously we're seeing those expenses are slightly exceeding the revenue that we're projecting in the next coming couple years, or I guess in 2022 it's just a slight difference. There is a pretty healthy cash balance built in the allocation fund. If you were to use every dollar of that, which we certainly don't anticipate, but also in 2023, and then looking further down the road at some long-term obligations, there might be some specific projects that are larger of scale that might need to dip into that, or there's always the opportunity to look into bonding for other projects. Again, these are estimates and in no means final, but we do want to just reiterate that there are plans to spend funds. There's projects that the TIF is needed for and is being used for to pay those bonds as well. And just lastly here, these are some of those projects that potentially some of those budgeted items could go towards. With High Street and the funding in partnership with NDOT, several infrastructure pieces such as the shared use path, sidewalk replacements, and signal and lighting improvements. Again, emphasizing Main Street and those infrastructure improvements and any other, necessary economic development projects as they become available. Chelsea, I did want to turn it over to you to go into detail on any of these projects, past, future,
Yep.
current, that I may not have gone into detail on.
Nope, so you're good. So the High Street funding, we have funded all of those with the exception of the signal at Monroe and High. So that's still looming, and I'll give an update in a little bit. I'll jump ahead and give that update now, but we have received a MOU, a draft MOU from NDOT. Adam's already reviewed it, Attorney Storwald, and it's now with the town attorney, because it will essentially be a three-way MOU between NDOT, the town, and us regarding that signal. So that's the only piece of that we have not yet funded, but we have funded the rest. I'm going to flip back just for a second to this. So this is something that I work with Jason and Sam every year on, and knowing the projects that we have kind of been talking about, we've kind of kicked around Main Street. It's going to be heavy engineering for a year or two, should we pull the trigger on that. And then there's going to be obviously a pretty substantial amount to actually do the construction, which is where I came up with that $4 million next year. Now, I'm not an engineer, right? We know that. I'm not an architect, I'm not an engineer. So these are very much so rough estimates, placeholders, to just give us a general idea of what some budget could look like. So please do not take any of this as if we get an engineering estimate at $250,000 or $1 million. Man, you were so wrong, Chelsea. You're right. I was so wrong, because these are budget placeholders, and we're just trying to kind of get a general idea of where things could be. I also wanted to make sure that with the town undertaking the comprehensive plan, that we kind of have some money there, as there may be some guidance given from the town, which I think the commission has essentially asked for, as to what should our next kind of round of projects be. So I wanted to make sure there was some. So that's where we worked to come up with very rough budget numbers that are provided. I'm happy to answer any questions that you guys may have, but wanted to give a little further explanation.
Thanks, Chelsea. So these last couple slides are kind of going over more TIF mechanics and the nature of how TIF works and capturing TIF and things of that nature. This first graphic here really kind of outlines the life of a TIF area, and there's three important pieces to point out. The first being the gray portion here. So these are the assessed values of the parcels kind of as they lead up to being included into an allocation area. At the time of establishing that allocation area, that assessed value is going to stick with those specific parcels through the life of the area. For our terminology is, that's the base assessed value, and that value also, it's important to note, continues to go to all the overlapping taxing units during that period. Any growth above that base assessed value from, whatever investment the commission makes into those specific areas, whatever developer comes in and invests into that area as well to increase those property values. That's what we consider the incremental assessed value here in green. Those are the assessed values that are able to be captured by the commission and is what in turn generates that tax increment, that TIF. Then last, we just want to note that at the expiration of the TIF area, after that 25-year life expires, not only does that gray portion, the base assessed value, go to the overlapping taxing units, but any of that incremental assessed value that has continued to grow over that 25 years, that is also going to go back to the overlapping taxing units. So it's a bit of a delayed benefit to the overlapping taxing units that, the TIF has been able to increase assessed values in these specific areas. And so lastly, I know that's kind of high level. So I kind of wanted to try to put some numbers and values to that and kind of help quantify what that could look like in the future if the commission decided to end the TIF areas or this could be, forward-looking when the TIF area expires. So we have two scenarios. One is the present situation, and then scenario two is what it would look like after, the end of the TIF area occurred. So really, scenario one is just kind of a snapshot of those existing tax rates, net assessed values and the property tax levies of all the overlapping taxing units that overlap with the TIF area. To kind of simplify things, let me back up 1 second. And this also does assume that those units are operating at their maximum levies. And it certainly does also include a couple funds whose rates are what we consider rate driven. So changes in the net assessed value is not going to change the rate. It's pretty much locked in. And then we'll also talk about kind of a scenario of, if a taxing unit wants to keep the tax rate at a certain level, what that would look like. But this is the present situation. If we kind of zoom in on like Mooresville town line here, you see we're capturing about 509, or not capturing, but the net assessed value base is about $509.6 million. And that's generating that maxed out levy of $2.7 million. So what happens then when the TIF area ends for whatever reason, and this additional $155.9 million that's boxed in goes to that tax base? Well, what doesn't happen is this $2.9 million just gets dispersed to all these overlapping taxing units, unfortunately. If we go down to our second scenario, and again, kind of use that microscope to focus in on the Mooresville town rate, you'll see now the tax base has increased to $665 million, but that net levy amount is still the same at 2.7. So what needs to occur to offset that NAV growth is the tax rate, is a tax rate reduction. So that's what we're illustrating here for all of these funds that are not rate driven, that are at their maximum levy. So for example, if you looked at Mooresville town, what's the impact there? Well, it'd be about a 12 to 13 cent decrease to that tax rate. For the schools, it could be an 8 cent tax rate decrease, and so on and so forth for all these overlapping taxing units combined of about 26 cents impact. Now there is a slight levy impact as well for those rate-driven funds that we mentioned. It's pretty minimal when we compare it to what that net tax increment number was before. But it's $45,000 to the county CCD fund, $67,000 to the town CCD fund. Now, one of the outliers, I know the school's relationship with their tax rate is that they're pretty committed to being consistent to that 0.7874 tax rate. So we also kind of wanted to know what happens if all that assessed value goes to their new tax, or their tax base, to increase their tax base, but they also want to, instead of allowing that tax rate to decrease, if they want to substitute or add debt or whatever it is to increase that levy amount to get it back to that 0.774 rate, what that levy impact would be, and ultimately that could raise the levy amount to about 1.2, or by about $1.2 million. So I know I'm throwing a ton of numbers at you, and ultimately the goal of this exercise is just, again, to kind of reiterate that there's really not a dollar for dollar impact when we're shifting assessed values from the Redevelopment Commission and TIF capture to the overlapping taxing units. So again, I know that's a ton of information, so feel free to ask any questions. Jason, if I missed anything, please let me know.
I'm going to jump in for just a second. A couple years ago, they changed it, the legislature changed it so that we had to present this annually. I invite all of the underlying taxing units to come. You guys did this without me asking, but I love this slide because next month, before June 15th, we have to determine if there's any excess revenues for pass-through. I think there's oftentimes a misconception with any TIF revenues that it's dollar for dollar. So if we were to pass through next month any of our revenues, that is the exact same dollar amount that would end up in other taxing districts' pockets. And this just goes to show that that's not the case. So if we were to pass through 100%, which is again scenario 1, is we keep 100%, then we would get $2.9 million of TIF revenues. Scenario 2, if we pass through all of it, which we cannot do even if you wanted to because we have pledged debt, but there would be $111,000 that would go to the 2 CCD funds. So I think it's a very telling case.
And there are some other indirect benefits, like circuit breaker losses would decrease, obviously, with all the reduction in tax rates across the county. That's a little bit more difficult to directly quantify, but Chelsea's exactly right. There's just no dollar for dollar impact when it comes to moving and shifting that assessed value.
Any questions from the commission to Baker Tilly? Either Sam or Jason? None? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Next, the approval of minutes from April 7th executive session. Do I have a motion to approve those?
I'll make the motion, we approve those.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Next, our public meeting minutes. Do I have a motion to approve?
I make the motion to approve those.
I have a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion to approve and second. All in favor, aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Abstain? Motion passes. Making notes, hang on. Financial report, Chelsea?
You were emailed a copy of the financials from Tammy, Clerk Treasurer's Office, yesterday. Okay, here we go. Our account balances, the TIF rental of property, current balance is $678,529.35. Our TIF debt service reserve is $470,474.38. Our redevelopment capital fund is $6,922,802. And our gateway construction fund, again, we closed that out. It's just still showing up on the report. So happy to answer questions anyone may have after Sam's presentation as well.
Any questions for Chelsea on the financial report? Gotcha.
Oh, thanks. Beat me to it.
Hearing none, motion to approve the financial report.
I'll make a motion to approve the financial report.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second, all in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. Old business. Business center update, Shell Building.
Things are moving right along with the sale of the Shell building. I was looking for the timeline and then I got distracted here. So we should be set to close no later than 15 days after expiration of the inspection period, which is 6/28 of 22. Now, there was a clause in there that they could request an extension. They have not done that yet, but that would push closing to August 29th of 22. But so far, so good. We're working through all the due diligence with them. I'm working with our attorneys and our engineers to make sure that they have all the documents. They, being the buyer, has everything that they need. Been working with Jason and Sam on the financing portion as far as the bank's concerned. And it's going well.
Next, brokerage service request for proposal update. Well, you know, this is why I said all along, never get nervous on that piece of property. We have significant interest in other areas now that may impact this request for proposals. So wanted to open up for any comments on moving forward with getting this RFP.
At this point, given the new possibilities, I would move that we table this.
Would you like to table this indefinitely until we work through?
I would make a motion that we table this indefinitely until we work through current possibilities.
Perfect. I have a motion on the floor to table. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
That is tabled indefinitely. Next, High Street State Road 42 signal discussion. I believe Chelsea kind of did that earlier, so any questions on that? Brownfield Assessment Grant update.
There's no update yet.
All right. Main Street Subcommittee update, I will give that. I brought it before the town council pushed away from the table and said, somebody else please, by all means, do some of the work. Not pointing at three of them, but I pointed at three. Nobody stepped up.
Saw the
So-
bike stairs. I saw them.
Yeah, so I will circle back after, obviously, there was an election, blah, blah, blah. Maybe they weren't fully committed, so now that things have fallen into place, I'll circle back to them if you would like me to.
Please.
Can you limit to just 2 of these members on that? Because I'd be interested in helping.
Yeah, it's limited to two.
Can't have a quorum.
Yeah, then we would have a quorum, so. Technically, this is old business, but I was asked by a council member and the interim chief to put it on, so I'm gonna add item E for the police station discussion.
Thank you for letting us happen tonight. Sort of last minute. Per your request, I put it out on the street a couple months ago for the fence,
Thank you.
and we did reduce it significantly.
I like that.
But in the confusion of who was paying for it and if there was allotted money from capital improvements or whatever else, we were trying to capture whatever we could capture. So in the yellow at the bottom, that's to maintain and correct problems that we're having with the existing asphalt of the parking lot of the police park. That's not got anything to do with the fence. It's just that that company will be on site at some point if we get this fence approved. And it would be nice just to do it all together.
Okay.
Also included in this proposal is the trenching and conduits to supply the new building, if that's ever approved. But as we talked about last time, we want to get it in while we're tearing everything up. So that we can feed electrical and plumbing, water, and this, that, and the other. White Electric has broken out different ways, and they were doing the excavation and trenching, as well as the concrete cuts and put back of the concrete sidewalks, which was ultimately cheaper to just let them do it all in-house rather than us bringing in a bunch of different companies. The water supply line is just to get something out through the trench that we're going to create to supply either the new building whenever it happens, or just to get it out from underneath the parking lot. Tailored Systems is our communications, and I think they're with the entire town. they've been hard to get a hold of, and that's still their price from a couple of months ago. So, I don't know where that's gonna be. Hopefully they honor it, but we'll just have to see. The Wallace Construction is the paving. That's who's done all the paving for the existing police department, and they know what they're doing there. I didn't want, White Electric did have a price included to put back the paving, but it was gonna be cold patch. I didn't want cold patch, or we don't want cold patch in my opinion. And since we've got those people right outside here in the county, basically. Actually, I don't know if they're in the county, but they're close. Wallace. The pipe bollards, they haven't changed. I guesstimated it at 10, and that's just for protection of some of the equipment. Site survey, I knocked it down to 2,000. I think we're even under that. And then I threw in a slush fund just for incidentals. And then at the bottom in the yellow is for the redoing of all the parking lot seal coating. The first picture of the fence, which is not in color, and I apologize, but it's what the people would see if they faced the police department. So it doesn't look like a total prison or whatever. It's very decorative, and it'd be black wrought iron with a sliding gate. The second picture is just ugly, but it just shows what pipe bollards are in case anybody had a question. The third one, I just took a picture from the internet, looking over our thing, and in the black marker, just sort of outlined where the fence would be, and the one that attaches to the building and goes out either way is the wrought iron. Everything else will be black vinyl chain link fence according to this proposal at this time. And that goes up to the field and back, which is, and I think I put on there APT for possible apartment complex, which will even increase the need for this fence. Like we also issued, our antenna or our tower is right behind the police department, and it's accessible to anybody that wants to get there. And they could render damage pretty quick. We also would like to have this fence so we can bring in impounded vehicles and do more thorough searches or wait for subpoenas to, so we can get warrants to look at them and go more into detail than we can do on the side of the road. I don't know if I have anything else to offer other than I'll take any questions you guys might have. And I want to thank Dana for all the help he's given.
So my understanding that there is a process we'd have to go through in order to do this in the first place. Yeah,
I'm not also an attorney,
exactly.
but since our attorney is not here, it is not in our TIF plan currently. There was assistance to the police station, but we capped it at a certain dollar amount, and we did meet that in assistance previously for the police station. So it would take a plan amendment to do that. So
It's really not something we can, we really need the attorney present to discuss the next steps for it.
yeah, yes, I think that would be ideal, is for him to be here. But yeah, go ahead.
To amend the plan, first step is to do Redevelopment Commission to amend the plan, and then it would go to the Planning Commission, then it goes to Town Council for their approval, and then back to the Regional Commission for a public hearing. So those are the steps.
So it's about a 60-day-ish process from you guys giving the signal that, yes, we want to do this. However, I will add, it's not the cheapest process because we're talking about lots of legal time. You guys,
For that, we wouldn't be involved.
okay. So typically when we do this, we try to couple
Several together.
several projects that aren't currently reflected so that we're
We don't
being
have those other
cognizant.
projects because we don't have our committee yet.
Come on, guys and
I
girls.
mean, there's,
I mean,
even how the board
it's not that
it's
it's,
very vague.
we're,
Right,
Believe me,
yeah,
the reason I'm up here, I'm the lowest man on the entire department.
yeah.
I'm a reserve, but what I do for a living, I'm used to dealing with this.
I certainly want to be able to help you. I just want to make sure that as we do it, we do it in the most efficient, cost-effective way.
Sure.
And
And that's what I threw it out there last time when I said,
Yeah.
do you want the building too also? And, because, I'm doing this on my own time, putting all this together and blah, blah, blah.
And did any of this get put in the town budget at all, or
The
budgeting
cap
and cap
plan?
plan?
Yes.
It did?
Yep.
Okay, and how
But
much?
you gotta think, like, capital improvement plan is like, I want everything under the moon, try to figure out how to make it happen, and, Paige, our representative on the town side, she was like, well, some things just aren't gonna happen, so I don't know, not the liaison, like, I get the cemetery, so, I can reach out and start going through, or you guys can just pull the cap plan at this point. It should be up on the website, so.
And that's part of the reason I'm here tonight. There was just confusion because it did come out in capital improvements that this
Yeah.
was allotted at a certain amount, and I said, and I emailed Dan, I said,
Yeah.
so what are we doing? Do I need to continue, or?
Yeah, and that's,
And my impression was that it's part of that, and the town council is taking it on, that we wouldn't need to, but then it seems like since then, maybe that's not true.
so a capital improvement plan is just a plan. It's not like we're gonna just give a wish list to everybody. So, will there be funds allocated? Sure, but to how much and what degree, and I'm sure they have much higher pressing needs. I don't know. Now, I will say that specifically my town council president really likes trying to get anybody else to pay for anything that he can possibly can, so.
Which is often us,
Big
big sigh.
I look at projects like this is a town project. So, it's just we've been fortunate enough to be in good positions that we can help, and we have in the past, so.
Well, and I know the capital improvement plan, it specifies a possible funding source, right?
Yeah, but, I mean, if
It
I have a
doesn't mean the money's
majority of the
there.
town council, I can change that tomorrow,
Yeah.
so. Yeah, that was always my argument against kind of the cap plan. It was just a plan, and it's a living, breathing document at the whim of somebody else, so. So let's wait for Attorney Stillwell to kind of give us direction. Let's circle back
Yeah.
with the council-ish.
Do you need a motion to table it till June? Or
That would be fine.
I'll make a motion that we table this till June when our attorney is available.
And we'll get this to him prior, so he's up to speed and prepped.
Dana knows my contacts, and I can be a part of any conversation if he needs clarification.
Well, the three of us are happy to pass Dana the extra responsibility of seeing over, and that's, by the way.
I'm sure he's been thrilled to get my emails.
That's from a police officer. You absolutely have to do it.
Now, what do you drive? That was a joke.
Well, I no longer have my name on the side of my car anymore, so.
I've seen it all over the county.
All right, I have a motion on the floor to table till June. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes.
Thank you for your time.
Yep, thank you. All righty, new business, June meeting date change. This is on here because for the first time in, I don't know how many years, Chelsea, I and I suspect one other person will not be here. That endangers the quorum if something were to arise. So you guys are more than welcome to keep it and take that chance. I cannot attend either virtually or physically to run the meeting, and I don't know about our vice president either, so. It is up to you guys on what you guys want to do. I can tell you that if you want to keep it on a Thursday, I've already looked, but we have to be before the 15th, correct?
Correct.
So, the 9th,
I can't be here tonight.
if you want to keep it on a Thursday, if any
You
of the
can or
days.
can't? You can't, okay.
Hang on, I'm pulling up stuff.
My June is relatively open in the evenings at this point.
I was going to say you could do it, you know, Monday, Tuesday, so 13th, 14th, as long as there's not somebody else in the building. Chelsea, do you know that right offhand?
I think we're good.
I think that week we're fine. Aaron, what's your availability that?
The week of the 13th?
Yeah, we have to be before the 15th though.
So
Yeah, I'm available. The 13th and the 14th.
I'm fine.
I'm being a good husband and texting, making sure, double checking everything at this point, so. Chelsea,
I will also not be here if it's on the 2nd.
Okay.
Nor will I be virtual on the 2nd, because I'll likely still be in the hospital if it's on the 2nd. But I will make myself available virtually the 13th or 14th.
Dana,
I'm available any of those days.
well, what good are you?
It's the 13th then.
I tentatively will say the 13th. I'm waiting on text any moment. Also trying to order dinner too.
There's a park board meeting, but they don't meet here.
They do
right?
I mean, at the library.
Okay, because there's a park board meeting on the 13th. I was just checking that calendar.
Yep,
So 13th it is.
13th it is, tentatively.
Do you need a motion on that?
I would love that.
I will make a motion that we move our June meeting to June 13th,
6 PM.
6 PM.
We'll advertise if we need an executive session. Do I have a second on that?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye?
Opposed? Perfect. Well, I'm not gonna play legal update, so how about managerial update?
I really provided most of the updates already. Did work with Jason and Sam on the annual report, the RFP for brokerage services, which has been tabled. The broadband survey is still live. So I know several of you have plugged it. If you want to plug it one last time, please.
Please do.
How many have you received?
I looked 2 days ago and we were at 169. So not as many as I was hoping for, but
I'm just saying that my internet's went out about 15 times in the last 2 weeks. I'm ready for something.
yeah.
That
So-
means Starlink, Elon Musk, if you want to buy Mooresville's capabilities by all means.
I think everyone's asking.
I will also add, yes, I will not be here if we were to meet earlier in June. I don't really have plans for maternity leave. That's not how it works when you work for yourself. But I do intend to be virtual for June and possibly July meeting. I've talked with Mike Dellinger, and Lita will help me make sure that there's copies up here and the room set up. Chairman Stanley is going to be recording, making sure that we're good to go. And then I'll be tuning in virtually. So I also be preparing everything. You just won't have to see really, really tired Chelsea. So.
All right, review of claims.
Everyone had a chance to see them? Okay. I'd make a motion that we accept the claims in the amount of $74,562.42.
I have a motion, do I have a second?
I'll second that.
I have a motion and a second. Aaron, do you want to review those real quick?
Look at me just a second.
Please.
Yep,
I will note while you're doing that, that does include a payment actually two payments to the town. We have been fully compensated by NICEPAC for the professional service fees associated with the several years that we were working with them for the acreage that is the Mooresville Business Center. So they have fully compensated us for the out-of-pocket expenses, which included some Baker Tilly fees, Barnes and Thornburg, as well as the town's attorney Taft. So our payment, when you see, I think about $61,000 of this month's claims actually are going to pay the town. It's two different checks because they paid some from the general fund and some from the sewer. So that's how they reimbursed. But yes, we've been fully compensated. It was about $242,000 by NICEPAC. So.
all righty. Have a motion and a second. All in favor, aye? Aye.
Aye.
Motion passes. For the good of the order, Commissioner Pipkin. Commissioner Heinrich?
Nothing tonight.
Just welcome, Aaron. Look forward to working with you.
Glad to be here.
Councilman-elect Culp. Sorry. I've been trying to work it in all night. Do you have anything, sir?
No, I do not.
Real quick, just a side note from the commission, as we are likely not to see Chelsea before the birth of twins. Good luck.
Thanks.
Godspeed.
Thanks. Gonna need it.
Yeah, if there's anything that you need from us, by all means, let us know.
I appreciate it. I do have to say I'm thankful that this time around with twins, we live in a much more virtual world than we did the last time I did this. I spent 6 hours prepping for and being at a redevelopment commission meeting when my almost 5-year-old was 2 weeks old. So thankful that we're living in a little bit more of a virtual world right now. So
I will tell you, I do have a 19-year-old who is a great babysitter and
I mean-
charges reasonably.
anytime you want to send her over, don't even care. I'll take all the help I can get. All hands on deck. Thank you.
You're welcome. Our next meeting date is June 13th at 6 o'clock right here. I need a motion to adjourn.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
I have a motion to adjourn and a second. All in favor, aye?
Aye.
We are adjourned. Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'll take the extra.
In only 53 minutes this time, Chelsea.
I appreciate that immensely.